chances that I missed. Some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist. I wondered what would change. I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Good morning. How you doing? This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn Laverne, and this is one street over. And oh my goodness, yeah, feels like a Monday to me for some reason. And it's Thursday, and you know we're kind of getting close to the end of the school year. And I call him my boss. He's like, I'm not your boss. Mr. Gregory's your boss. Dr. Causey's in the house. Pull that microphone to you, brother. Pull it right on up there to you. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well for a Thursday. It's definitely been a very busy week. Of course, They just get that way in April and May and August and September and October. You know, they're all busy. So
it is.
We just take it one day at a time, and we do what's best for kids, and we move on.
I hear you. And I have to tell you, it has been such a great pleasure to be a part of this school district for about to wrap up my first year. I'm very excited. Yep. And what I'm very excited about is having summer to be better prepared and to better get my curriculum together and just I feel like I kind of know what I'm doing now. So I'm excited to have the summer to get ready for next year. So, you know, but we've got so many things that we could talk about.
One summer will go by about as quick as a weekend does. So
I know. And we've got a mission trip, and I've got stuff going on at church, and I've got a lot of things happening in the meantime. And if you're trying to message me on social media, guys, my computer decided to die the minute we turned on everything, and it's just, you know, one of those perfect storms of events this morning. And I got up so early, and I got in here a little bit earlier than usual. And anyway, Dr. Chris Causey is here. This is a special visit from him because we want to talk about what happened on Monday night and all the stuff going on with charter schools. And I've had a few friends reach out to me with some concerns, and they said they were going to send me some questions. I did not see them. That's one of the reasons I was a little late, as I was trying to check to see what had come in. I couldn't find them. Then the computer died, so I can't see anything. Hopefully it'll come back on. But with all that said, I really just want to focus on what you think you need to say to the county in regards to the meeting that happened on Monday night.
Well, and honestly, I hate to beat dead horses, but it's really the same message that we've had since the fall. Mm-hmm. So when we receive, and this is our fourth charter school application in the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. A lot of people might be new to this, but this is our fourth one. And the process has changed a little bit. On the back end, but not on the front end. And the front end is, you know, we got the intent to apply by an organization, American Classical Education. So the school that they were proposing is called American Classical Academy Robertson. And it's one of 5 applications from ACE. They did 3 last year. All 3 were denied by the school systems that they applied. We didn't get one last year. Yeah, last year.
There were different
Started the year before,
districts.
yeah.
So they applied the same application
Yeah,
in different
yeah.
districts.
But this year it was 5. Three of those districts were the same from last year, so they reapplied in 3, and then they added, I think, Robertson and Murray County this time, Maury or however people say it. So all of us, because of the timeline, all of us, part of the process is you actually the board forms a committee. Did that back in December, January. We had about 20 members on our committee, different supervisors. We had city folk in there, not to call Asa city folk, but she's a city folk. She is now anyway. And and others that were part of the process, because the application itself that we did receive 1st of February is 500, 600 pages. I mean, it is a monster. It's on our website.
I need you to clarify something, because okay, now the acronym for this company that applied, what is it?
American Classical Education.
And so you called it ACE.
Yeah.
And then you jumped over and started talking about ACE. And because somebody that's not, somebody that doesn't comes to him and go, what Ace Timbermeyer did this?
So, but the school itself would have been, would be American Classical Academy Robertson.
Right.
So like down in Murray, it was American Classical Academy Murray, and
Gotcha.
American Classical Academy Clarksville or Montgomery County, whatever the case may be. So we took this application, and we really had a few months to vet every single section of it. And there's a rubric. So when I say beating a dead horse, what we've talked about since day one is the process. It is not pro-charter, anti-charter. It is not, I love this organization, I don't like this organization. It has nothing to do with, we live in a world where everything is either political, moral, or both. And this is neither. This is not a political issue. This is not a moral issue. This is a company that wants to start a charter school in Robertson County. They have an application. We have a rubric that the state provided in which we score that application. And then we take that scoring and that recommendation to the Board of Education for them to vote. And that's what Monday night was. And right now, for the other districts that have been involved in this process with this company, every single review committee has actually recommended denial of the application. Because when you look at the rubric, in order for it to pass, in order for it to be recommended, every section, there's 3 different sections, has to be at meets or exceeds expectations. Based on the rubric. Once again, there is a rubric.
Explain what a rubric is, because this is not something that most people outside of education understand.
A rubric is a scoring guide. Our teachers use them in the classroom, and it pretty much says, in this section, did the organization do this, 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 and this, and this? I'll give you, let me pull up my iPad. Actually, the application is so big, I thought it was going to break the table.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I kind of joking, but not really. Like the first section is the academic plan, design, and capacity. So if you look at the rubric and you look at all these things, one of them has to do with is the school's mission concise and complete, and were there community meetings, and those were strengths of their part. So we did list the strengths of that part, but there were some things in that academic plan, design, and capacity part of the application that did not match up with the rubric. One of the things in the rubric talked about special education students, English language learners, those kids that we see in our 11,600 plus school system, and the funding in order to take care of those teachers and things like that. And in this application, there was some lacking of funding for ELL teachers. There were high school course alignments were not clear, and those kind of things. Teacher retention rates, student suspension rates were misaligned with what we have. Everything was supposed to align with the school system that they were applying for.
Right.
So when you look at the rubric and you look at the application, it just did not necessarily match up. Am I hitting the table?
Yeah, you're hitting the table and it's bump, bump, bump.
So with that, response to RTI squared is supposed to be in there, and those guidelines did not match up with what the state requires. So there is a process, and that's what I tried to tell folks. It's not political, it's not moral. It is we go through a process, and our team actually spent. I think Ms. Dickerson, the committee steer, mentioned 50-something hours. I'm going to tell you it's probably twice that much. I think she's being very conservative because we wanted to vet it. We wanted to do a good job, and we wanted to make sure that the reasoning for the non-recommendation were very valid. It wasn't just willy-nilly. So that was the first section. The second section was operations plan and capacity. So we did have a conversation about where the building would be located, and there were 5 locations, 4 real locations on the application. Most of them weren't even in the city of Springfield. One of them was, and then 2 were in White House. I think 1 was in Cross Plains. So then you talk about transportation, which I know we're all aware of, and the cost of, and actually they weren't going to transport. So that's a concern. And we're not saying it's bad. It's almost like these are the concerns we have based on the application that you've presented. And that's what all the review process is. And then, so that was operations plan capacity. And I do want to tell folks, if you go to our website right now and look at on the front, the website, and you look at the front page and it says charter school application, go to charter school application, and all the things that were presented on Monday night are on there. So they can go look at it. They can say, okay, now I might understand, and like I said, and if you look at it, then I think you would understand why the recommendation was not to approve. Now, the third part is financial plan and capacity. And the question is, do they have the resources? Because they're getting anywhere between $3.5 up to close to $6 million when it's fully have kids in it, fully
functioning,
enrolled.
Yeah.
Let me.
Fully
That's a
operational.
lot of money
Yeah.
per year. That is a per year cost, and that is taking money from the general budget, which we use for Robertson County School System, because in the new TISA funding formula, the money follows the child. So if this school had nothing but homeschool students in it that we have never seen an ounce of funding for, then that would be one thing. But I we don't know that, and even the Mr. Schwenk will tell you. They don't know which kids will apply. They don't know where they will come from. So it is very hard to, talk about that. So that's something he and I did agree on. So out of the 3 sections on Monday night, the first one, the academic plan, design, and capacity, did not meet the standard. And when you say did not meet the standard is based on the rubric that was given by the state in order to score that section. So if it met or exceeded what the rubric told us that it had to have in it, then that would have been scored differently. But it didn't. And when you look at the deficiencies and you look at the rubric, you will see, oh yeah, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. I mean, it's really that easy. It just takes a lot of time. And hopefully my folks aren't listening going, it wasn't easy, Dr. Causey, what are you talking about? No, it is very difficult. A lot of capacity, or a lot of conversations about the capacity. And then section 2, operations plan and capacity, actually partially met that standard, which is also an option. And then the third one, that means they didn't meet or exceed it, but they did have some things in there they were supposed to, and it just wasn't all there. And then the last one did not meet the standard there. And the thing is, section 1 had 11 subsections. Section 2 had 14 subsections. It's a very large application.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those 4-inch biter ones. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, and then they presented their recommendation to the board on Monday night. The board, just back up a little bit, I'm sorry. We did have a capacity interview a week ago, and that was an interview with the committee and the company who made application. And it's one of those where, some counties, offer that for public comment. We chose not to for 2 reasons. First of all, there had already been multiple community meetings in Robertson County for people to give some feedback to what they thought. Also, if you look at our website, we actually have a poll there that you can actually go fill out now. It's still wide open. And that's how we've learned that 75% of the people, give or take a few percentage points, about 75%, 3/4 of the people that filled out our poll was not in favor of charter schools at all. And we listed it that way instead of just this application. But you can go and fill it out now. So, and I do wish if you do that, just don't put yes or no. Leave a comment, because we're reading those. And they're very, most of the time, if they're in favor of a charter school, then they're saying that I'm in favor because they do this, this, and this, and this. And I think most people will tell you that that there are good charter schools. There are bad charter schools. I will give you, I don't want to throw New Visions Academy under the bus, but New Visions was the last application we had before this one. They're out of Nashville. They were a middle school, and they wanted to start an elementary charter in Robertson County, kind of like the one that we have here, even though the one here was talking about expansion. But they wanted to start an elementary. We have a community group that either reached out to them or they reached out to them. I don't know how that process happens because that's not my venue or that's not my world. But they did have an application. They put it in. We went through the exact same process. It was denied because there were a lot of concerns there financially, curriculum-wise. There was quite a few concerns there. That middle school that was in Nashville, they've already closed due to lots of investigations about finances and things like that. So it's one of those where we avoided that because we spent so much dang time vetting that application. That's what we've been called to do. So it is a process, and once I do believe that the committee will tell you, the board will tell you, if an application comes across and it has everything in it that the rubric calls for, and the recommendation is to adopt the charter school in Robertson County, our board will be the first to do it. I think they made that very clear the other night. Yeah. They're not against charters; they're against applications that do not meet the standard.
I agree. And I've been able to pull up this. My computer finally came alive. And Jerry Sothergill is a friend of mine. And he's got a bunch of questions up here on the comments. And I'm going to let you, can you pull the comments up that I've got here or here? Let me just give you this and I'm going to do a commercial.
Okay.
And I'm going to let you look at that because I think I know how you're going to answer those. But, he put that stuff up in comments. So let's take a look at it. But I'm going to pause while Dr. Causey goes over that. And I want to talk to you about my friends Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Now, Barry, right now we're kind of focusing on Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival because that's coming up third weekend in May. You need to put that on your calendar. Barry sent us some info last night about one of the bands performing. And so we're going to start having some of the musicians come in. The big thing is I talk about the Kilgore Bluegrass Festival with Barry and Rebecca because it just illustrates how they're involved in the community. That's how I got to know them. They will be at the festival. They'll have their tent set up. You can come and sit around the table with them and talk about anything you want to talk about in regards to real estate. If you've got, maybe you want to be in real estate, maybe you're something you've just decided you want to do, well, they'll mentor you with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. They'd love to talk to you about that. They'd also love to talk to you whether you're selling property, if you're buying property. Maybe you're selling property and people are not just really giving it a good, serious look because you need better videography, you need better photography, you just need better something to get it out there and market it better. Barry is a marketer. That's what he came out of. He was a marketer, a vice president of a media marketing company for 17 years. Rebecca's been at this a long time, I think well over 15 years. They've been in Cross Plains 27 years. They're Robertson Countyans. They are specializing in Robertson County properties. Of course, it's their home, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. Cannot say enough about these folks. Looking forward to spending the weekend with them at the Bluegrass Festival. But if you want to connect with them today, do that. You can call Becky at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, or you can check them out at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy BUY at robertsoncounty.com. Always let them know that you turned things up. Getting back into the show, we've got some more time with Dr. Chris Causey discussing the results of the charter school decision on Monday. And what say you, brother? Go ahead.
Well, and looking at, hello, Mr. Jerry. He goes by Jerry, right?
Jerry.
If I can say. I tried to pronounce their name the other night and I just butchered
Sothergill.
it. Sothergill. I do apologize for that. And actually, he brings up a few good points. First of all, regarding test scores and things like that. And one of the things that I do believe people forget is last year we actually had two reward schools in Robertson County, and they were Greenbrier Elementary and they were White House Heritage.
Tell them what a reward school is.
A reward school is a school that pretty much performs in the top 10% of the state.
Right.
The year before that, we had 11 level 5 schools. And all of them, all of the Title I schools in Springfield, and I'm talking about Cheatham Park, Springfield Middle, West Side didn't qualify because they don't have third grade. Testing starts at third grade and up. But Crestview and Kreisel, they were all level 5 schools, which means that the growth that they had far exceeded what they were supposed to. And, and like I said, what is it? Figures lie and liars figure. I mean, there's always statistics out there.
Yeah.
And he even brought up some nationwide and state figures, and we've seen those. And one time Tennessee was considered the fastest improving in the country, and then COVID hit, and I think we all kind of backtracked quite a bit. But actually, if you look, we just won an award, and if you look at these things from that niche, whatever it's called, as one of the best districts in the country, based on lots of things. It was based on test scores, attendance, all of that. So once again, for everything that we can find that's wrong with Robertson County, I can tell you what's right with Robertson County, because he is right. Education itself is a nationwide issue. In a state issue. Right now, we have an assessment in the state of Tennessee that doesn't necessarily match up with the standards that we're teaching. That's a fight that we have every year. I'll tell you that right now. That's a statewide, and the charter school would actually take the same assessment. So one of the concerns that we had was that their curriculum did not match the standards that the kids are going to be tested on. And there's supposed to be a crosswalk. There's supposed to be these things that they provide for us to say, here's second grade, this is our curriculum, this is what, or third grade anyway, and this is what they're going to be assessed on. And they didn't have that. And, one of the things that, one of the concerns that we had with the application, and to hit another point that he said, was that they addressed some of those things in the conversation that we had at the capacity interview. They say things like, well, we'll take care of that we take care of transportation. We will make sure that, special ed kids get the needs that they have. The problem is the application didn't reflect it. And when you look at part of that application had a budget attached to it. And you can say all day long, I'm going to make sure transportation is provided for our kids. But if you don't have the money in your budget to do it, at some point you're going to have to say, we need to find different transportation. So, yes, the conversation that I've always had with Mr. Schwenk has always been very good. It's always been, we'll do that. Or you heard a lot at the capacity interview, we will partner with the school system. Well, that means that there's more money that we need, or there's buses that we need, or things like that. And the thing is, the money that we get from the state that we spend on transportation goes to the kids that go to our physical buildings. And we transport 70% of our kids daily. Mark will tell you that. And when you look at the amount of money that we spend per child to transport, and you take that over to the 540 kids, up to 700 kids that the school's going to start, it just didn't line up. I mean, it was going to cost them more to transport kids than they had in their budget. That's it. So you can say all day long, we're going to take care of it. It's just a matter of, okay, tell me how, because, it's one of the things, and I'm going to quote another county's school board member that said this. I actually mentioned, what they said and what their application said did not line up. It's kind of like applying for a job and saying, well, I have a degree. You said, from where? And says, well, I can tell you that once you hire me, or in what, whatever the case may be. So I think that the thing is, the process was vetting the application itself. And if we were talking about, you come in for free, and you try it, that's one thing, but we are looking at a very large fiscal note. So like I said, it is not for charter, anti-charter. It's not anything. It is based on the application that they provided. And the neat thing about this process is they can amend their application. They still can do that. They have 30 days to amend the application based on the feedback that they got on Monday night, and they can bring it back in front of the board. And we will vet it again, and we will go through it again, and then the board will vote again. And then if the board chooses not to adopt again, then they can actually appeal it to the Charter Commission. So there's a huge process. And the Charter Commission used to go to the State Board of Ed, and that's the part I told you the process had changed. It now goes to the State Charter Commission, and then they can vote on whether or not to adopt that charter school. At that point, Robertson County can actually come in and say, okay, now that you voted to have this charter school in Robertson County, we would like to be a part of it. We want it to be under our umbrella. We can do that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we're not there yet, so I don't know what the board will want to do if we get to that point. But if the charter, if we say no, then the Charter Commission actually takes that school, and they're not part of the local LEA.
Okay.
Or then they can actually deny it as well.
Okay.
And I'll give our folks credit, because everyone that has been appealed to the state up to this point, out of the 3 other applications, 2 of them were appealed to the state, and the state actually denied both of those, which I think is a testament to the work that our people do based on the rubric.
Right.
It is all about based on the rubric. It's based on the application, not necessarily what we say we're going to do or we're not going to do, because this company actually has no schools in Tennessee right now. And I think that's very important.
That states a lot.
So we cannot, if they're successful in this state or that state. Our first application had some schools in Arkansas, and this organization does have schools outside of the state of Tennessee. Some of them are average. Some of them are better than average. Some of them are below average. It is not one of those where they're just hitting it out of the park and then they're number 1 school in the country. So I think it's one of those where I think when you go look at this data, you will find out that there are good charters. There are bad charters, and some of those are under the same umbrella. So it really has a lot to do with the resources that you provide that school. And this application did not have all the resources that it needed to have.
And that's the bottom line. And there was, some comments on here, and one of Jerry's is saying that it was like that the school board had made up their mind. Well, it's because they had already vetted it, and they had already done the research, and they had studied it. It wasn't like they just came to the board like, I don't want that. There was hours and hours and hours of work that went into vetting this application, so they knew what they knew the things that were missing. And so again,
well, and we had four board members, maybe 5. I'm trying to remember. Sorry, it was a week ago. That were at the capacity interview.
Right.
That actually, they can't talk to they can't vote on anything. It violates sunshine law, but they were there listening, and they had the application back when we got it. So they've had it for, 3 months, and they've also were given some of the pros and the cons based on the review committee before the board meeting. So they were sent that beforehand. No, I'm going to tell you right now, the board doesn't make up their mind beforehand. I think they have some thoughts because they're human beings. They're not machines. I think they have some thoughts based on the information they have been given. And I know the board chair has made it clear to many people, because I've heard him, that says, if we have professionals that are vetting an application that says this is good for Robertson County, who have master's degrees in these things, then why would I vote against that at that point? But that is not what we've had so far, and I think that's very important to say.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate you clarifying that. And then Christine Apple is saying there was 200 letters of community support. I get that there's a lot of people that are saying it's like they look at the school system and they're seeing what we're seeing societal, and that is that we're kind of falling apart, and it comes back to the home life of so many. And that's the hard thing. It's not the education system. It's what's going on in the home.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I truly believe that with all my heart.
And one of the things that was brought up in the capacity interview about the letters of support, we're fully aware that there are community members that believe charter schools would be good for Robertson County.
Right.
And we recognize that because, if you go to Metro Nashville, and you go to Memphis, or you go to Knoxville, or you go to some of those folks where charter schools thrive, ask yourself why. And the thing is, when you look at your KIPP academies and your LEAD academies and those that have been successful, go look and see why. And the thing is, they had the resources for communities who do not provide the resources themselves, is what a lot of that comes down to. So I would ask folks to go look at those organizations and then compare it to the ones that you've had applied in Springfield so far. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a huge difference there. As far as the letters go, the thing about Robertson County, we're small enough. And we know for a fact we got a copy of those letters. They're in the application. They're one of the amendments of the application. Mm-hmm. If you go through some of those, some of them are duplicates. So that's concerning to me when you hear folks that says, I didn't know what I was signing, and I don't want anything a part of this. And we've heard that. That's a real story. That's not Dr. Causey making it up. Or all I wanted to do was watch my kid play basketball. And they asked me to sign this before I sat down. Those kind of stories. And I know Commissioner Woodard, who I love, by the way. I had both of his kids in class. And matter of fact, it was the other night when, like I said, we've turned this into a political or a moral issue, and it's really not. Because when they did show up, Amanda Woodard and Brandon, they were at the board meeting Monday night. Well, those are my kids. I had Amanda play ball for me. And I've got lots of great stories there because I love the family. Have always loved the family. Now I'm not going to even say we're on different sides of this. I know we've used that phrase. We just have a different opinion on this particular application. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, we used a rubric. I mean, I keep on going back to we scored it the way that we're supposed to score it, and it did not meet the standard of the rubric that the state of Tennessee gave us. And it hasn't met any of the other districts either. Didn't meet the 3 last year. I can get into the fact that Rutherford County did pass it. I would encourage you to watch that meeting. They have some huge growth issues in Rutherford County, and they believe that by doing this, it will keep them away from portables. And when you talk about growth in Robertson County, that's nothing compared to what they're seeing in Murfreesboro right now. So they had a reason for it, even though their committee didn't recommend approval either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
And Montgomery County and Murray County actually denied it on Tuesday night. And then Madison Jackson will be voting on Thursday night or tonight.
So this is the same application that's going in other areas. So, and the bottom line is...
Not very Robertson County specific, and
yeah.
I think people need to know that.
Yes. And you can go and tell them where they can find everything if they want to see what the problems were and they want to look at it.
www.rcstn.net. There's a link on the homepage that says charter application. The application itself is there, as well as the slides from Monday night that says these are the strengths and the concerns that we had on all 3 parts.
And the bottom line is they can make amendments and they can resubmit it and then they can appeal to the state.
Absolutely.
So there is a process, but it did not meet the requirements that it was being, that it has to meet. And as a teacher, I could go down. I've got more guests coming in here, but I'll tell you, brother, that's one thing. As being a teacher now and seeing the T's that has to be crossed, the I's that have to be dotted to be able to get the funding that we have to run the schools from the state and the federal government. And you've got to do those things. It's, you can be frustrated about it. You can say, well, why are we doing this? It is just what it is. It is just, you have to do it.
I'm going to tell you, one of the things that sets charters apart is that they get a lot of stuff waived.
See, and that's
law,
unbelievable
they can ask a lot of things to be waived. That includes transportation. That includes some services. That includes a lot of things that they don't have to do because they fall under a charter. So if we want to improve, if these things are so good for kids, then why not let the rest of the schools have those waivers as well?
Wouldn't that be beautiful? I appreciate that so much. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. See you around the district.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chris Causey. And we'll have him in, of course, after the school board meeting next month. And I imagine we'll talk more about this, but and he'll probably have some comments. Be nice to this man. He is my friend, and he is a good man. And so just be nice to him, all right? As we make the switch, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my friends Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. It is time to get ready for your garden, y'all. Get your garden planted. Okay, Brian, go ahead and pull that microphone up. Have you got your garden planted yet?
No, I wait until after Mother's Day weekend. I've learned. I got burned twice.
Yeah.
With the frost, and especially as mild a spring as we're having.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm waiting. I'm
We
waiting.
had it.
Yeah.
We had a frost the other night. My wisteria was starting to bloom, and I think it got bit. And I think, it's a young wisteria. It wouldn't have a ton yet, but I think it got smacked. And but I think we're almost in the clear.
We're close.
Yeah,
I got a
we're
beautiful
close.
palm tree that I bought at Corbin's last year, and to replace the one that I killed because I left it out in the frost one night, and when I thought we were in the clear, earlier.
Yeah.
And it's doing great. And I was like, all right, we're good for the year. And then I had to pull it back. And so it's still sitting. I'm ready to get it back out
love
on my
that.
patio. But again, it's the best one I've ever had. Got it at Corbin's. There's another
there you
plug.
go.
Big full one, just makes me think I'm at the beach. Gives me just for a second, gives me the impression I'm at the beach, even though I'm in Coopertown. So
where do you store that thing in the winter?
I put it in the garage.
Oh,
Yeah. I just bring it in the garage, and I got a little spritzer, and I spritz it, and it does fine. And then I usually keep them alive. The last one, we got a snow late.
Yeah.
And it was during basketball season, so I was preoccupied with my basketball team that night. And I left it out, and it got killed. So
see, I kill stuff all the time.
I know I'm terrible.
Yeah, I'm the worst.
That's why I go to Corbin's and spend more money, though.
That's right. That's where I'm going. I need some things. I've got my list. I'm going to go see her. But they've got the Customer Appreciation Day, which is May 13th. They'll have planting station for the kids. I'm sure Brian will be out there getting his hanging baskets for his
hot dogs and hanging baskets, baby.
Yeah, his son will clean out the hot dogs.
Yes, you best believe.
They'll open at 9 a.m. They're at 4920 Highway 161 in Springfield. And for all these things that we've talked about, CBD products, we can't even go down that rabbit hole. We don't have time. But oh my goodness, go inside the store, check out their CBD products, check out the handmade items from Miss Jane they're in there. I swear by the CBD products. I keep it for bug bites. We'll talk about the anthill stuff another day. But
wait for it to get a little warmer. And I saw some in my driveway. They're not like the ones that I ran into, the devil ant. It's down, but in my driveway, and I stomped them all out in a hurry and got some stuff and killed them. So if I see ant hit you're dying around me after that. So
after his story, get him out in town, get him to tell you that.
I'll tell it to you.
It's crazy.
I'll show you the scars.
Go to Corbin Creek. Go see them today. And when you get out there and talk to them, always let them know that we all sent you. And thank them for sponsoring one street over, and be there May 13th for Customer Appreciation Day. All right. Hello.
Good morning. How you?
Good morning. I'm good. What's going on in y'all's world? Missed y'all last week, but it's so wonderful to talk with Leah.
And that worked out great with
love
it being
Casa.
April. So
Let me just say something. If you really want to change what's going on in the schools, change what's going on in the families, be a CASA, get involved with Open Door Pregnancy, get involved with the Isaiah 117 House. How about Decisions, Choices, and Options, Joey Walsall? Oh, be a big brother, a big sister. All of these things, if you really want to change what's happening in our education system, start from the ground up. And these kids need you. It's in the homes. It's in the homes.
I'm gonna jump here. You can do raise your hand and do the thing we were talking about with Dr. K in here. You can also be a reading buddy. The school system has that. That's 20 minutes a week.
Yes.
And it has been one of the best things. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm saying it because I've actually doing it. It has been one of the best things I've ever signed up for. The kids are great. I get a big hug every Friday morning from this beautiful little girl named Amy at Bransford. And it is the best part of my Friday. I promise you. Spend 20 minutes with these kids and read to them. She speaks Spanish. She's teaching me Spanish. And I'm reading to her, but I've just watched her light up every week. It's just better and better and better. 20 minutes of your week.
I love it. I love it. Can't say enough. And, go ahead. You look like you got something.
Oh no, I was just thinking it's something I should probably get. I have a 15-year-old that's severely dyslexic, and I'm like, you know what? He would be a really good reading buddy because he understands like the reading struggles, and now that he's on a little bit more on the other side of being able to read, especially like the early learning and stuff, I actually think it would maybe even help his reading improve if he was mentoring. So I'm like, and that's one thing that with Raise Your Hand, at least I don't know about the reading buddies, but with Raise Your Hand, they take high school students. So if you're interested in, if your high schooler needs some hours or just needs to get involved, I've decided, I homeschool my kids. And so I've decided this next school year, they all need a cause that they have to volunteer at, or they get an opportunity to volunteer at for an hour every week.
I thought that was United Way. That when you bring them out to work for us.
See, that's the thing. I was like, okay, I love that. I'm like, okay, we need help. Come on, bring the volunteer crew. But I want them all to each have their own thing too. That
they're passionate about
theirs. Like I was listening to Still Magnolia Sanctuary came and spoke at Kiwanis this week, and I was just like, oh, my 12-year-old daughter would love to like go
They're
and
a cool place.
Really kind of help with that, and they'll take volunteers as young as 12. And so and you're talking about that mentorship with the students, like that's get your kids involved in volunteering, and those adults that are, running the place, they become mentors, natural mentors. So if you're like, I need my kid to have a mentor outside of the home. I mean, it's great to have parents that are invested and love you. That's very important. But it's also good to have other parents in your life. We talk a lot about in child welfare about ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences, and how detrimental that is to your long-term mental and physical health. Actually, it came about because an insurance agent was looking into why some people thrive in adulthood and some people, their body starts to break down, and they looked at it was really traumatic experiences in their childhood. But now there's some new research on positive childhood experiences and how those can overcome some of the adverse, because we can't always control everything that happens in our kids' lives. But what are some things that we can do to pour into the positive aspect? And one of them is to have adults in your life that care about you. And so I want my kids to have not just me. I want them to have a lot of people in there, a lot of adults that, are good mentors and people to look up to. So anyway, volunteering is a great way to do that. There's my soapbox.
I love that.
Well said. Well said.
I love this is the third time we've used ACE as an acronym twice, and then we've also invoked the name of Ace Timbermeyer earlier today because he was Dr. Causey was unpacking the name of the charter application. It was like American Charter Educators or something. So acronyms ACE. Right. And so he mentions that. And then just a sentence or two later, he mentions Ace Timbermeyer. And I was like, okay, clarify that the two difference. And now you've got another acronym for ACE.
This is
I like it.
ACEs.
It's a theme today. It's so funny.
Nonprofits, we love our acronyms. Like we're big on them. When I was first started the
typical.
United Way, I used to have to sit in meetings and Google what all this stuff meant because they were throwing around these. I have no idea what they were talking about.
Oh, when we first started teaching, we were given 2 pages of acronyms, and it's hysterical. And I have to go and look at my little acronym thing to find out what's what. What are they talking about? That's a lot. Anyway, so where are we going to go, guys? What do you want to talk about this morning?
Well, I was just thinking when you brought that up that every industry though has their own thing. I'm doing leadership Robertson County right now, and yesterday was Agriculture Day, and we got to go see the amazing things farmers are doing. But Jordan was like, if you don't understand, please ask, because they were throwing out words. We're like, oh, I have no idea what that means. They have to get certified every 3 years to be able to use pesticides and stuff like that. I had no idea. I didn't know. I learned a lot yesterday.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I got whenever we were on the campaign trail back when I ran for Congress. Somebody was like, something about Roundup and all this, asking all these pesticide questions. And so the question came to me, and I was the last one to answer. I said, I'll be honest with you, I use Roundup. I use it responsibly. I said, farmers have to get certified. I talked about that. Farmers have to get licensed and certified to use this stuff. I said, there is a safe way to do it. And I said, I'm a responsible user of Roundup. And I was like, I'm honest.
What I learned about Roundup yesterday at Jepson Farm was that it was a detergent. People were washing their dishes and throwing it out, and then it was killing whatever they were throwing it on.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, so it started out as a detergent, and then they obviously turned into Roundup. He's like, but so people won't use Roundup, but they'll go in their kitchen and they'll put dish detergent and stuff together to kill weeds the same. So he's like, really,
same stuff.
It's basically the same stuff. Just be careful with it and stuff. But
yep.
Anyway,
responsible. Just being responsible.
I learned yesterday. I was like, I had no idea.
Isn't that fascinating? But I had never heard that it had originally been a dish stir. I had not heard that story.
I know that. I learn something every Thursday morning I come in here. I feel like, but I like being around smarter people than me, so
funny.
it's nice.
You're so funny. Yeah. I think you bring plenty of smarts to the table there, young man.
Okay.
Young man, I can say that to both of y'all.
Yeah.
I feel so old when I'm in that room with all those teenagers. Oh my goodness.
They don't make you feel. They don't give you like youth. Like when I'm around young people, it kind of gives me a bolt of energy. You know,
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them. But I do. Sometimes they'll say things and they'll just look at me and roll their eyes like, Miss Vivio, did you really just say that? You're so old.
Once we were teaching a 14-year-old Sunday school class, and my husband mentioned Mother Teresa, and the kids look at him like, Mother who? What?
Yeah.
I have no idea who.
Yeah.
About.
Isn't that fascinating?
Like, she hasn't been gone that long. How do you not know who Mother Teresa is?
Yeah. I know.
Some of the references remind me how old I am when I make them to somebody that's younger, and I go, "Oh, you have no." You this 10 years before you were born. There's no reason you should know that, but it reminds me because it's such a common reference among people my age or even older, and you think everybody would get the reference, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" Nope. No idea. I had one of those this week, and I was like, "You never?" And I was like, "Nope, never heard of it." I was like, "Well, it was 8 years before you were born, so that makes sense."
Well,
So
it's just like we were talking about Ed Cope, and he came in, and we were like, Mr. Ed, and they were all looking at him. Hi, Mr. Ed. They didn't get it. The talking horse.
right.
And so then we went down that rabbit hole, and they were like, oh, wow, that sounds like high entertainment, you know. And so
It was.
Not to get off the tracks here, but like,
oh, we do anyway.
I know.
We do
So
it.
I know those references because of the reruns, and there was so few options. Like, so that's a show from the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched that in the 80s,
Yeah, Nick
and
at Night.
so I knew and like Green Acres and Beverly Hillbillies and Andy Griffith, all those shows we knew. And so, but I feel like this generation, like with the streaming, all that stuff is kind of like tailored to where they're at right now. And so pretty much 90% of what they watch is what I've observed is stuff that's being produced like on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, Prime or whatever they're watching for them right now. They're not being forced to kind of watch some of these older shows or older movies or whatever. So they don't get, like, if it's not in this little tight window, they have no frame of reference. Yeah, and I'm just amazed, and I'm not trying to get off tangent because they're way smarter in so many other ways, but some of the stuff they just do not know, like as far as like they don't look back at all. And maybe it's a good thing. I don't know, but I'm just saying like the reference was to another sports fan, and it's something he should know. Like it's a very common reference, but it was before he was born. But I knew stuff from the 50s, 60s, 70s before me about sports because I don't know. It was just you knew, so it's just different.
It is fascinating.
You have all this information, but yet they don't know anything.
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying this, and I'm sure that they're smarter in a million different ways, but just like they don't look back at anything that happened before their life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know it. And
Yeah.
and that's exactly right. And I mean,
It's just observation.
You know, and we were talking about the school system. So if you really want to understand what's going on with the education systems, you got to get at the heart of these kids and you need to be in their life because a whole lot of them don't really have anybody.
They don't.
And that's what's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, they have somebody that takes care of them, but that doesn't really give them a safe place and really give them the unconditional love that they deserve. And
Parents are just as distracted, I think.
yes,
100%,
and a
100%.
lot of them don't.
I'm
know
guilty
what
of
to
it. I'm
do.
guilty of it. So,
Yeah, they're working. They're overwhelmed
Yeah.
themselves, and they love them, but they just don't. It's just different. It's just different. It's just different. So get involved.
Get involved. That's the
involved.
point. We did have a point there. Get involved.
There you go.
And I do have a little personal thing. So the Big Brothers program you mentioned, I was a big, and I met my little 13 years ago when he was 9, and we've been close ever since. And he had just had his second child this week, a little baby girl.
That's awesome.
I got to go over in Vanderbilt and hold her on Tuesday and visit with him. And it's been the greatest blessing of my life, being involved in his life, and just he's a part of our family at this point, obviously. And but just the opportunity that you have to pour into somebody, and it's funny because we have so many similarities. He and I, it's like God put us together. There's no mistakes there
cool.
for sure. And so he's blessed me. People say that's such a good thing you're doing. I'm like, you don't understand. Like he has blessed me a million times over. He's the best man at my wedding. Like he has blessed me a million times over.
That's so
And
cool.
so to be a part of his family now and watch him raising his family is such a cool thing. And all started with like a decision. I was talking to the Big Brother CEO one day about a work thing, and he was telling me all about the program. I was like, well, there's no reason I can't do this personally. You know what I mean? Like, and so just I made the decision and kind of jumped in. It was a little scary. It's like, am I fit to do that?
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities to do that. And there's so many kids, and I think it's even more now than it was 13 years ago, that need you. There's so many parents that have had drug issues and all kinds of issues, and they're being raised by their grandparents or their aunts and uncles, and they need positive people to pour into them. That's all that's missing in their life right now. They just need somebody that cares about them, that is pouring into them. So there's opportunity. So please take advantage of this. I mean, it's out there. It's easy. Contact us. We will refer you. There's plenty of opportunities. It's not a big time commitment at first, and then eventually, like, they're part of your family. That's great.
There you go.
But like when we was first doing it, it's like, well, how do I have time? It was like a night a week. We'd go get pizza. We would talk. I'd go play basketball. Whatever what we wanted to do that week. It was not like, I was doing something every day, but then that relationship grew, and then you want to do it. So it's not an obligation. It's something you want to do. So anyway, take advantage. I guess that's our theme today. Take advantage of this and pour into some of these young people because they really need it, man. They really do.
And
More than ever, I think.
And that will change.
Yeah.
That will change things beyond the charter schools and all the things that you want to fix that you see wrong. If you do that, we're going to get this back, and we're going to get this back on track. And that's just the bottom line. And
Yeah.
I've met your little. He is a wonderful.
He's
just a very awesome young man. I
Yeah.
just was so impressed with him.
Where did y'all meet? I don't remember.
He was here one day.
Oh, that's right. I brought him because he was rolling with me when he had car
Yeah.
problems. I forgot about that. Yep. He is. I've watched him mature. Like he's 22. He's the guy I'm talking about. I was telling him a sports reference about something, And he's looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm like, you don't know who? And he's like, no. And I was like, how do you not know? I mean, it just blew my mind. You don't know who these guys are. So he's 22. He was born he'll be 23 this year. He's born in 2000. The reference was from 1992. So I was like, I guess you weren't born yet, but you should know about him.
That's right.
Get on your phone and Google. You got a phone in your hand 90% of the time. Google it, man.
Is some of the students, sometimes they'll ask me questions and I'm like, you've got a computer right in front of you. All you got to do is go ask. And then they'll ask me a question. I'll go, hey, Siri, and ask them like, you see it's at your fingertips, just to kind of illustrate the point. It's not hard, guys.
Yeah.
You know, if I had that kind, anyway.
I know we're down a tangent.
When I was a kid, if I'd had
get off my lawn, young man.
if I'd had the interweb.
Statistics show though that actually the easier information is at our fingertips, the less we store it in our.
Isn't that interesting?
And so there's a lot of things that they may have been exposed to that they don't remember because it is so easy just to look at.
I don't have to remember that. I can just Google it when I
That's
need
a
it.
fact.
That's a very good point.
So when we have to go find it ourselves, maybe where we're retained, like having to go look it up in an encyclopedia, for instance, maybe something like that, or ask somebody that explains it to you, versus you're saying just popping it on your phone and it's in and out like fast food.
Yep, it's in and out. But if you do something with that information, like explain it to somebody else or write about it or something like that, then you can retain the information better. But if you're just looking up on your phone and then turning your phone off, you don't retain the information near as well. Like it's a very low percentage, unless it's something you're very passionate about. But so anyway, I found that fascinating because we have all this information at our fingertips, and yet we are dumber than
I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I feel like I know less now, and I was like, I got it. I've got the computer in my phone in my pocket all day long. But I used to read the newspaper. I mean, every morning. Now those are kind of non-existent. We got Sports Illustrated every week when I was a kid. I would read it cover to cover. Like I'm a good reader, and it's because I read all the time that stuff. But it was what I was interested in. But I retained all that. I know, I know way too much about that. I can't remember people's phone numbers, but I can remember starting lineups from 1983. But I read it my whole life, and I retained it. So it's just different.
Going back to Big Brothers Big Sisters,
yes,
they are a partner of ours.
Absolutely, yes.
And one of the reasons why it doesn't have a huge presence in Robertson County is because they do not have enough people signing up to be bigs.
They've got a list of especially boys always that need men to step up because men step up basically. Yeah, my mother did it too. She was a big. For a little girl that they still keep in touch. The little girl is a woman now, lives in Florida. And it was one of the greatest blessings of her life. There's the opportunity, and it is not a big time lift. You think, I don't have time to do this. I got so much stuff going on. I promise you it will bless you a million times over to pour into these kids' lives. And they are just so hungry to have people in their life because a lot of them just, their mom is doing everything. And I use that because it's a lot of single mothers in that situation. Not always, but most of the time. And, they are spent. You know what I mean? They're doing everything they can, just keep a roof over their head, and the kids just are needing somebody to care about them and take them and show them some things. Right. You know what I mean? Show them some different things that they don't get exposed to as far as like going to a ball game or going to a cool museum or a library or whatever. They're just going to school and their mom's just doing the best they can.
That's when you pour into that kid, you're really pouring into the whole family.
That's right.
You're giving back to that mom, giving her an opportunity to refresh herself to be the better mom. Yep. And so if you can't be a Causey, can't be a big brother, big sister, find some way to connect. If you're too busy to volunteer, you're probably too busy.
I love that.
There's an old, and my stepdad says this. He said, if you don't vote, you can't gripe. And he uses another word that's a little ruder than that, but we're on a Christian radio station, so I'm not going to say it. But it's the same thing. If you want to complain about these young people out here and say, they're lost and they're da-da-da-da-da, do something about it. Yep. Let's get out and do something about it.
Yeah. Put some skin in the game,
That's
guys.
right.
Absolutely. I've got to just one thing that you were saying about the kids not retaining things because they keep, it's too easy. I've got signage up in my room, and this came from Professor Christy McClellan. She says to her students, you've not learned a thing if you've heard it. You've not learned a thing if you've seen it. You've not learned a thing if you've seen and heard it. You've only learned a thing when you can give it away. And that kind of
I like that.
What you say.
That's good.
And that's what I tell the students all the time. It's your choice. If you really want to learn it, you got to be able to give it away.
That's right.
So, and that's what we got to teach these kids. But I love this conversation, and I think it really kind of hitches up to the conversation we have with Dr. Chris Causey. It's about we want to make things better for our kids. That's when you talk about charter schools, when you talk about all these things, we're trying to help our kids. Well, here's what you can do. get on the ground, get some skin in the game, get your hands
Absolutely.
dirty, and help the kids. There's tons of opportunities. So let me do this break, and then
Yes,
we'll
ma'am.
come back and reset and make sure we cover everything
Okay.
that you
Okay,
need
sorry.
to cover.
Just a couple things.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. We're going to talk about Cumberland Connect. Again, I could tag Brian in on
I'm
this.
glad to
We
do
love
it. I'm glad to do
we
it.
both have a gig. Can't say enough about having a gig in your house. It means that you can do all the things you need to do. I don't have my extender yet. I got to get my extender because we're setting up a photo studio in our barn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to be working from there. But just being able to do my work from home is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been able to do that until I got Cumberland Connect. Now, it's not everywhere yet. When Senator Kerry Roberts gets it, she'll know it's pretty much everywhere because he's last on the list. That's why I say they're not playing favorites. Not when our
No.
state senator is going to be one of the last ones.
Not
to
for
get it.
employees either.
Yeah, exactly.
I can
Yeah.
testify to that.
So it's when it's in your neighborhood, and they may already be there. If you're a Cumberland Electric customer, that means you're going to have access. And if you want to see if they're in your neighborhood, just go to cumberlandconnect.org, cumberlandconnect.org, put in your zip code, and you'll find out. Or you can call 1-800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362, and check out the Affordable Connectivity Program, providing qualifying households with monthly credit to help pay for internet services. And if you're eligible, you could receive credit of up to $30 per month toward broadband services. They've got packages that start at $30 per month. So when you reach out to them, tell them U-Turn sent you, and please thank them for being a full-time sponsor of One Street Over. And so we need to get right to it. What have you got? 'Cause we-
One of the things that I do is run a leadership group of high school kids, and we do a service club, and they are doing a food drive right now. So if you want to participate in the food drive, we are accepting donations through the first week of May to donate to United Ministries, and then we have we got 2 food giveaways coming up. One is in the first week in May at Vol State, and I'll put all the details on your show notes or on the Facebook. So, and then there's another one the 3rd Friday at Springfield Baptist by United Ministries, and so that's another thing. So if you're looking for some extra food to help fill up the pantry, these are good opportunities to come and be part of. And then also our purse drive. I'm gonna keep beating that drum. And I need to start putting it on our socials too. But we're collecting purses for hats.
And hats is the it's an adult rehabilitation, or it's for disabled adults. Hats. I don't know what the acronym stands for. Do you?
Yeah, all the acronyms. I don't.
Yeah.
We were just talking about acronym. I need to keep a cheap sheet of laminated in my pocket.
But
it's
They do amazing work.
yes, they do.
They work with adults with disabilities and help them find job opportunities and job coaching. So there might be some jobs that they're able to do mostly, but they need a little bit of help. And so they have a job coach that makes sure that they stay on track and make sure that they're able to do what they need to do so that the employer gets what they need to get out of it. And then the employee learns the new skills. And so
Very good.
it's an amazing program.
Did you have a hero of the week?
I do. This one's is I was going to do it a couple weeks ago, but it's internal from the United Way. But we had an employee, Celeste Wilson. She just retired after 13 years.
Awesome.
She was our Tocqueville rep, which is I'll talk about Tocqueville at some point. But we have the pilot program here in Nashville. It was started in Nashville, and it's for givers of $10,000 or more. So she managed that program for basically our high level donors, and did it with such passion and such grace for 13 years. I don't know if I've met anybody since I've been working at the United Way that believes in our mission more than she did, and just believed in every single thing we did and promoted it in such a wonderful way, and then gave 13 years of her life to further our mission. And so she's retired. They're having a thing for her Friday.
Awesome.
And we're just so thankful for Celeste and everything she brought to our team and brought to our organization and brought to our community, because she helped raise so much. I couldn't even put a quantify how much money she helped raise over the years that has helped a lot of these programs that we talk about. And so just really, really proud to know her. And she's just such a wonderful person, and gave me an example of how to be in this. And so I appreciate that. So
congratulations.
Love you, Celeste. Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. Congratulations. Any parting thoughts as we head out the door here? You got anything else?
This was good. I enjoyed it. I didn't know this was going to go this way, but this was good. Maybe we need to do a little preaching this morning. So it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. But thank you guys for joining us. Oh, speaking of preaching, Jack Martin's going to be in here tomorrow, the Irishman from the Green Ridge Church of Christ. I love that guy. And I'm going to try to start getting him in here once a month. We'll talk to him about that. And but Jack will be in here tomorrow, and that'll be a part of our Faith Friday. And James, Aaron Slate's brother, James, is going to be on here next Friday. Just going to tease that for you. Aaron helped me set that up, so that's going to be fun. I talked to him last night. So we're going to have got a lot of good stuff coming up, you guys.
Good stuff.
Stay with us and be a part of what we have going on here at 1100 WSGI. God bless.